What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So in today's Motorfest video, I want to go over the best part build you can actually have for the drag category. Now keep in mind, I'm also going to go over all of the other classes as well here in the near future. So do stay tuned for those videos, but we do know right now, guys, the drag category is probably going to be fairly important. That is most likely going to come down to the fact of pretty much most of the summits having a speed trap. And on top of that, we also have many of the events, which is currently only 2 of them. Because I am hoping we actually get more drag events, 2 is honestly awful. But nonetheless, though, looking at the drag car right now, so for this, guys, you could basically run any of them. I'm also going to be going over videos on basically the best cars, but for me right now, I don't know why it is, but I do like the Dodge Viper. It does seem that, no, Dodge Viper. And the reason for that, though, is this car does seem to handle pretty decently for being a drag car, especially in Motorfest. Like, we do know back in the Crew 2, the drag cars could turn a bit, but in this game, they honestly do not. So when looking at the parts here, guys, there is going to be a specific set you actually want. That is going to be a Nitro Chemist, shocking, I know. But with the amount of different builds you could probably run, a lot of players might be wondering exactly which 2 parts they should actually be running for the drag class specifically. Now, I do admit, guys, you could probably run different ones, like, the Air Nitro and, like, have, like, different, like, Bucks builds and stuff like that. But if you are looking for, like, the fastest time and the best build ever, I would 100% recommend the Pure and Frenetic. The reason why I do say this, though, is you could run something like Extra Pump on there, but let's be honest, though, a drag car is aiming for the most power that you can possibly get. Pure is going to increase your nitro power. Frenetic is also going to increase the nitro power as well. And for the drag car specifically, though, I would definitely recommend going after a full power build because, well, having something like Resourceful and even Extra Pump on a drag car is most likely not going to be the best possible build because if you are running something like a dragster, you're obviously not going to be braking. Like, for example, if you are going after like the highest time in a speed trap, why are you going to be hitting those brakes and trying to get nitrous? Like, that makes no sense. And the way the drag car's nitrous are basically goes down in like one run, so braking is probably not going to be a very useful perk there. And then looking at the other side of this, let's say you are running something like Extra Pump. Is it truly going to be worth running on a drag car? The funny part of this, though, is Extra Pump does obviously give you more nitrous over time when having it active. We are running a drag car, so you're probably going to be doing like a small event or something like a speed trap, then restarting it. Back in the day, guys, I always ran Extra Pump and Pure on my drag car for the escapes in the Crew 2. They were going to be incredibly helpful. That way you get another nitrous section back, and you can also get, farther away from the red thing there. But if you are in the Crew Motorfest, a drag car probably isn't a great option for, any of the escapes for that matter. You're most likely using a hypercar. So when you are aiming at going after a good dragster build, the big thing here is you are most likely going to want to aim for the most power you can possibly get out of it. And it's also going to come down to being able to restart that event or that speed trap, which luckily having Pure and Frenetic, you don't have to worry about getting nitrous back. Like, you can basically just sit there for the event, but in this case, in an event itself, you are already going to have nitrous, so it doesn't matter there. If you are doing a speed trap, though, you could sit there and wait, which is normally what I end up doing in many of the summits, like basically spawning into that speed trap, and all you will then have to do is sit there, which funnily enough you actually see this pretty often with most players sitting at the end of the speed trap. Once they then have their nitrous, they obviously do a full run there. And if you're also a solo player, having the most power out of that nitrous is probably going to pretty much be the only viable option. Like, if you are jumping into that speed trap, you're most likely going to go, well, yeah, let's aim for like 385 or like even 410 miles an hour in that speed trap, which is definitely going to be doable with basically any of the drag cars, even though some are probably going to grip a tad better, like, catch a bit more speed being in 5th gear once you hit that nitrous. Some cars I did notice might struggle a bit more, like take a little bit longer to actually get higher speeds. That is also probably why so many people used to use the C7. And the other car you're probably going to see is going to be the Burning Wheels Edition. But if you guys are looking to run solo, the biggest thing that you actually need is a chemist set. That's obviously going to be number 1. Second is going to be Pure and Frenetic on that vehicle. Now, they don't have to be maxed out in percentages, but at least having them being a bit higher, and on top of that, adding your legend points on is still going to make a pretty big difference. And if you guys are looking for like the best build you can possibly have, this is definitely the one. But having them be a bit higher is still going to help a lot. And on top of that, you can also have your legend points on them as well, which in return is going to make you a bit quicker in those speed traps. Overall though, guys, I would definitely recommend going after a chemist set with Pure and Frenetic. The Dragster class is by far going to benefit from this actual build. more than any other one you could most likely go after, at least at this point. And it will not only make you a lot faster in the speed traps, but it will also help tremendously in the events. We do know we are probably going to be seeing a lot more drag events showing up in the future, which personally I do hope they actually add more of them. Like 2 is a bit ridiculous. But at least at this point though, you are going to be fully prepared having a full chemist set with pure and frenetic. Not only are you going to be a lot faster, it's also going to make the events and the speed traps easier.